why would someone want to go from that 2D layout to a 3D layout? So if let's go here. Right, so if I'm laying this stuff out, anybody understand what's going on there? Honestly, anybody?
No.
Yeah, 2D is a terrible communication tool. But if I showed you a 3D image, so let's kick open Inventor so you guys can see, right? How is information communicated? The other thing you'll notice, the one thing I can't get out of here, I can get a bill of materials, but the one component that I don't have in the 2D space is like wire length, because that's a physical thing, right? So if I told you I was working on, we'll just open, do I have one open?
Travis, what do you have to do to go from electrical to Inventor?
I'm going to show you.
You just click on?
Yep, I'm just going to click on easy button, right? But if I was to tell you that I was working on this component, who would understand that better than that other thing?
Is that other thing this thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who can tell me what's going on here?
Looks like an eject button. Very dangerous.
Some kind of button, right? There's buttons going on, right? Reset, kind of, who cares how this thing's wired up behind the scene? Right? I don't understand. I don't need to understand that. I need to understand, hey, where this is going to go, right? People are just 3D in nature, right? So how do I get from electrical to Inventor? Well, there's this cool little thing. If I can go to, I'll show you in the video. So I apologize, I was going to show that live, but just didn't have time. So here we have, remember that project, right? There's this other little tab under here. It's called it's a location view. It doesn't matter. But anyway, there's a thing that comes here that allows you to connect the two together, and that's what we're setting up to right now. Is there's a file that is connecting the two physical components. So again, here's that cool little guy. We can pull open. It's just going to map it back to there. That's stuff that, regardless, is stuff you guys don't need to know. But there we go. So over here, that same kind of browser look that you saw over here. So when I was placing, back in electrical, I'm placing a push button or any kind of component. Well, there's a link, right? So here we go. You can kind of see all the components being built up back in Inventor. Let's go to the video. Sorry. It's linking those two files together. So when I place a 2D instance, it needs a 3D instance to kind of map. And that's what this process in electrical is doing. Is so when we say we have a component library, that library just isn't in 2D. Yes, there's more content in there as far as like symbols and locations, but the bill of materials information can be connected back over to a 3D space. So when someone's placing a connector, right, they're pulling the same browser that I was searching over in AutoCAD electrical. I'm now searching inside of Inventor. So when I'm placing components, I'm reading the same library. So there's a connector that wire cables are going to hook to this, right? You've all played with those type of connections. So there's going to be a physical 3D nature of it. And so the importance here is, so when I pull this information from, it's just a syncing operation. So just if anybody's been around long enough, I mean, let's see, how do I not go too technical here? So previous process, you have to export it, right? You say, hey, here's all my data, I need to export it, right? So now with the 2016 enhancement, it just says, go find it. It's in that project, so just find that information. There's no import, there's no export of data. It's in the project, right? And so this is going to pull information from, so all those little funky wires we saw and routed inside of there, that's what we're doing here, is we're now going to take those from a layout perspective. All those little things you don't understand, I'm now going to just connect the dots and say, let's back it up a second. Right, just connect the dots. So here's my wires. here's everything that was on there that was representing something that I don't know about, that I don't understand, but now I have it inside of 3D, so I have these wires. Like I mentioned, it's just a streamlined process. So to go back to Elisa's question, right? How is this all connected? Well, I just say sync up with it, and then everything's just tied back to a 3D model, and now I got those detailed information. I can pull over wire lanes because I physically routed it, inside of Inventor. So when you think, what's the benefit here? Well, when customers want to build something, if they want to build a real digital prototype, right? You need to know how this is being connected. That's what this is. This is the brains. But then each little one of these little dots or symbols represents something, and that something is probably a component, right? This one here is an easy one because it looks kind of like a button, right? That's representing a button in 3D, so now I can place that in 3D space and actually have the intelligence behind it that's connected to other components. So, hey, this has to connect to here. Well, great. I have a physical representation of that, so then I know, hey, this wire, it actually has a value. It has a length. So I can cut that wire, and I can physically wire that information. So that's where Inventor comes into play. Majority of the enhancements you're going to see over here in electrical, right? The productivity. Only when people are really concerned about how it's going to look physically, and you're going to have to build that information. Right? So if they're building those cabinets, right, with the stop buttons and everything, they're building those, then they're going to want to kind of connect the two together. Okay, so we'll back up the station. Remember, these top 10 things for electrical, it's just for productivity. So you're talking to your customers, and hey, do you do any kind of electrical design, right? Do you do any schematics? Yes. Okay. How are you doing it today? I'm doing it with AutoCAD, or I'm doing it with Visio. Oh, I don't know how people do things with Visio, but that's another response you might hear. Well, great. Would you like to, know of a way to do it be more productive, right, with your data? And one thing I didn't show, we could, again, we talked about it's just DWG and his background, right? We own that technology. Most people are using it today. Let's reuse that information. There's even some tools to say, hey, you have some of those symbols that you've created? Great. Let's just add them to our library, add a little bit more intelligence to them. So